You're listening to So Organised Style podcast. So Organised Style is produced by me, Maria Theoharis, Susan Goodwin, and Anne Wally. Do you remember a time as a sewing or crafting person where you would have never considered purchasing fabric or notions from an online retailer? Elizabeth of ElizabethMadeThis.com has created a couple of very helpful blog posts about online shopping. Elizabeth has always shared her research and ideas for sewing people because she has been supportive to the community. So her first blog post, which she published earlier this month, was called 16 Tips for Better Fabric Shopping Online. Elizabeth has now added a new blog post with a spreadsheet containing over 200 online fabric retailers that span across 4 English-speaking countries. Join me now and hear the real story behind Elizabeth's research. Thank you so much for your time. The research that you put in, I'm sure has spanned like a whole lot of people.
Yeah, it's been a lot of work putting it together, but I wanted to, just create a big jumbo resource of just places that I thought people would enjoy shopping at, places that I've shopped at, and the places that, just running through their website said, hey, this looks pretty good. I would do that.
Yeah. And I think there were quite a few that I picked up because with the 2 Frocktails that I've just been to, that had particular sponsors, and some of them I didn't even know that they had online stores. So, and I honestly think I've probably missed you. So I'm more than happy to keep sending them through. No problem with that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, I've got like 200, like over a little bit over 200 after final count yesterday, and I know that I'm just going to be continuing to add to it, especially since I just put the 3 major countries besides the U.S. I thought that the U.K., Australia, and Canada. Yeah. And I'm sure that other people will be like, hey, what about me? Like, yeah, of course I want to add that.
Bring them on.
Sure.
Exactly.
Yeah, totally.
I was thinking back to a resource list that Melissa Fur of Fair Trade had done So Active Wear. I'm not sure. Did she assist you at all?
No, there were a lot of places that I knew about, and then I largely just did the research on my own. I asked for your help, and then I needed some help with the Ankara too, since I'm not as familiar with that fabric. Yeah, but everything else was just me, just working through all the work of it.
And look, I know from past reading of your posts that you're really thorough. So as soon as you asked, I thought, this is just going to be pure gold because of the amount of work that you do and how thorough you are. So there's no way that people think, oh, yeah, it's just a list and move on. It'll be something that I think people are going to be wanting to contribute to and to refer to.
Yeah, I hope so. That's definitely my hope. It's always my goal to be as most helpful as I can. And sometimes that means I blast people with a fire hose of stuff.
That's fine. It's good. I mean, I've been watching all of the work that you've been doing on So Much Talent with their challenge for August and the work that you're continuing to do to keep people feeling supported with their sewing and with their creativity. Have you had any stories from people around, any sort of stories that you were quite, how could I put it, amazed about from what you've been doing?
Sometimes some of my projects, it's kind of just fun to just talk through my process with people. And that was one thing that was really cool about the So Much Talent retreat, and just being able to go there and just talk with people about that stuff. And my session where I got to go and teach about refashioning was just really cool because I got to, really talk about the history of refashioning. And when we got to the workshop part of it, just being able to go around and help people through their projects and just help them kind of think through some of those processes that I go through on a regular basis to just add that little bit of creativity into my projects was just really, really cool. And it was just fun to see that people were so open-minded and just embracing that sort of thinking, because it's a big mindset shift, I think, to, you know, think outside of that little box. It was good.
I mean, even I think probably 2 or 3 day and night challenges ago when you made the blue lace dress.
Oh, I love that one. Yeah.
I know.
Your wedding next week.
Oh, cool. That's great. Yeah. It'll be really good to see the feedback that you get from people who are not in the sewing community, because they'll just be blown away by the work that you've done.
Yeah, totally. It was funny because I'm taking this blogging class right now, and I got some really great feedback on the last post that I did about just tips to do a good job at online fabric shopping, you know, so you have a good experience and all of that. And one of the people in my group was like, wow, this was like really helpful, and I don't even sew. I was like, oh, that's wonderful. That's probably what I want to hear.
Yeah, exactly. And it's from someone who's not even in the sewing community. So that's really good to hear.
Yeah, that's really good. I'm like, that's what I'm shooting for.
Yeah, so encouraging. But I think what I was trying to get at was I've been able to see your creativity and the depth of the creativity that you've had for years. And I just think it's amazing that you just continually apply it to everything that you do.
I love it. And it's funny because it's like in all aspects of my life. It's in my cooking, it's in my violin, it's just like, I don't know. It doesn't stop. And when I get burnt out on one, I just go to another and I just take a break.
Oh, that's good. And it's that approach that you're taking, that, you know, you stop here and you'll go there. You're kind of self-motivating, but you're still being creative.
Yeah.
Would that be right?
Yeah, totally. And also, I think it's important when you're being creative to give your brain a rest. And so if you can channel that energy to someplace else, then it really helps, because your creativity in any one area will fizzle out after a certain point. So there's times when you're like super, super creative and you're sewing, and sometimes when you're just sewing basics, and that's totally okay. It's totally okay. It's all good. And eventually, you know, just when you realize that you're in that spike of creativity, you got to like jump on that.
Yeah.
And when you're not, then just take a break.
Take a break. And that reflection that you have during the break, it may be conscious or unconscious, but I find that fires me back up in my creativity.
Yeah, and I think too that some people think that it's something that's wrong with them, you know, like that, like they have to feel guilty that they don't have any sojo, and I'm like, oh, maybe your brain just needs a break, and that's okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, just, I mean, if it's gonna come, so when it's there, just, you know, realize and acknowledge that you're there, and then when you're not, then go full force.
Exactly. Yeah, jump into that stash that you've got.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. But yeah, no, the resource is just on my site. Just something I thought would be helpful for people. Takes care of a need.
Yeah. Oh, look, and it's an important one for people who are starting to look to purchase online, or people who have been purchasing online and really want to find something different and they can't find it through the people or the stores that they've been going to.
Yeah, totally. And it's funny because I never thought that I would become a predominantly an online fabric shopper, but because of when my kids were born, my ability to go and travel just to shops just went down the tubes. I mean, we have today we have 3 soccer games. I just don't have that extra time to go drive 50 minutes across town in traffic and like maybe I find 1 or 2 things. So I mean, it's really funny, and that's what drove me to refashioning too, because my local thrift store is 5 minutes away, and I affectionately call it my weird fabric store. But it's and I've just over the years, that lack of being able to have that extra time has really driven me to learn how to be a really good online fabric shopper. And I found just awesome places and sometimes, you get connected with people that are just wonderful, wonderful business owners, just great, great customer service. It was so awesome last year to go to Fabric Mart's actual physical store and meet the people. They were just like, they were so meticulous, number one, in how that they were packaging all of their stuff, making sure that everything was just, all the ducks were in a row. And everybody was so proud. And so it was just a really relaxed place. Everybody was just happy, and they were just awesome, awesome people. And it was great to see the other side of that. And that's what I felt from the other side, just being like, I've bought maybe one bad piece of fabric from them in 10 years of shopping. I mean, that's incredible.
That's amazing.
Now I know why.
That's right. So for people who don't know where Fabric Mart is and where you are, could you explain what that distance is or the location?
So I'm in Colorado.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of quilting shops here. There's probably one or two. There's a handful of good garment store fabric places here, but some of them are a little bit pricey, but mostly just they're difficult to drive to with my time. So a lot of times I will end up picking up fabric as we're on vacation. So last year we went to DC and thought, hey, I just love, can we go to Fabric Mart too, which is in Pennsylvania. I mean, it's totally out of the way.
Yeah.
But my husband is very obliging, so we had a little fun exploring Pennsylvania.
Cool. Yeah, so it wouldn't be somewhere that you would normally go to, but it's somewhere that you...
Oh, absolutely not. It's too far, way too far.
I think when I bought from Minerva in the UK, they tend to put the names of the people on the packages that you received. So you not only know that what it is you've received, but who actually packed it.
Yeah, that's really cool. They have great customers. They're just really great too.
Yeah.
And I love them too because they a lot of times have stuff that it's tough for us to get here in the US. I mean, it's funny, we think like over the US there's so many options, but there's some things that are hard to get. So it's cool to have that source in Minerva, and they have really reasonable international shipping, which is a rarity.
Yes.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, I agree. And I also know that from experience, the time that it takes for something from them to here in Australia is quite reasonable. Like 1 week at the worst, it will take a week. And smaller packages come within about 3 days. And that's mind-blowing because that's what I would expect here locally.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's been my experience too. Yeah, it's pretty impressive. Impressive.
So are there a couple of tips that you've got for people who are starting to do their fabric shopping online and think, oh, I really want to touch the fabric, but I don't know?
You know what? If you can find a place that will get you swatches, that is such an awesome resource to do. And especially if you're starting out and you look at the back of a pattern envelope and you see like all the different fabric choices that they list for, what would be appropriate for that pattern, that can be really, really intimidating. So just order a bunch of swatches, or there's some fabric stores that will have swatch clubs, and they'll just send you several different kinds of swatches.
Yep.
And that can really teach you what it is the fabric looks like and what it feels like. And there's a couple of books out there that will also give you just a huge glut of information about each fabric type. So one of them is Fabric Savvy by Sandra Bettina, and there's several different editions of that one.
Yep.
And then there's I think it's called the Swatch Book. That's more of a textbook.
Yeah.
But it has actual fabric swatches in it. And that's a pricier book, but it's an investment in your education. So it's worth having. It's on my Christmas list.
Oh, good. That's great. No, that's really good to know, because I've had discussions with people around, if it's such and such GSM, it's not going to be it'll be for furnishing fabric, or if it's this GSM, it would be that, it would be something for like a chiffon. And if you're just starting out, you don't know what GSM is unless you look at a pack of paper that you would put in a photocopier, because that's usually 80 GSM. But how does that? So I think your idea of getting swatches is a really good way to start.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And when you have the swatch, then you can kind of see it, and you can feel it, and you can see how it drapes. And the other thing that has been really cool, I know Minerva's been doing this, and I'm sure there's other places that are too, but there's some places that they're actually filming a fabric, and so they'll show you how it moves and things like that. That's as good as being in the store, really. So the only thing between you and that fabric really now is just being able to touch it. And the more that you understand about fabric, I think the more you can feel comfortable about just ordering stuff, because you know what you're going to expect when you get a Ponte, and after a certain point, you know the difference between a Ponte that's all poly and one that's got a little bit of rayon in it. It's you know those things, but without that knowledge, just pick up those swatches, and it will teach you that. And and just go to a department store and look at and feel all the fabrics and look at the tags. What is that fabric? What is that fabric made of? And that will teach you a lot too.
So I suppose if you're in a hurry, then you really need to slow down and get those swatches.
Yeah.
Because that would be one of the things that I'd be sitting there going, oh, but I really want to make this dress, and I want to get the fabric, and I want to get the colour. But if you just slow down a little bit and get those swatches, then you'll make a better choice, a purchase for yourself.
Yeah, definitely. And ultimately, that's what we want, because we want to, not be the fast fashion people in our own sewing rooms. I think Sandra Betsina, one time she said, why are you rushing through your sewing project? You're just going to go on to the next one and sew something else up. I thought, that's really great advice, because truly it's right. We're just, the second we finish putting that last button on, we're going to be cutting something out next, because it's like, we love it, and that's great. But, there's wisdom in just putting on the brakes a little bit sometimes too.
Yeah. And, putting on the brakes and also means you've recognized that you've just finished something and what you did was really good, and you know what you're going to do next. But be happy with what you've done before when you're in that, stay in that moment for a bit longer, because it is, joy that you've actually done that project and you finished it. It's amazing.
Yeah, totally.
Especially if you're, got a family commitment, or you've got a full-time job that's taking up all your time, and you've made the effort to find that time to actually make that project.
Totally. Yep.
So now that your resource is up there, what do you think you would like to see? How would you like to see it used, or what do you think the next step is, if there is a next step?
Well, I would just like to keep adding to it for sure. But definitely I would love to hear back from other people and say, what their experiences are, and have other people help just add to it as well. Like, hey, like this place is really great, where I am. Just because I think the one thing about the online sewing community is just that there's so much generosity in terms of people just sharing stuff. And so to be able to just continue to, like, okay, here's this hub that I've built. Let's have other people, add little outposts on it too. Just all the better resource for everybody, really.
Yeah. The work that you've done has been phenomenal. And if people can keep adding to it, then that's even better, because, again, that is us helping each other.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Totally. And so if people want to add to it, they just...
Yeah, you could contact me on my blog, or you can, hit me up on the Instagram, @ElizabethMadeThis, or just comment on the post itself. And I'm happy to add stuff from there.
Okay.
I got through the big bulk of it, so it's not so hard to add a couple here and there. Cool. I realized that one of the ones that you sent me, I missed as I was going through. So I was like, oh, I'm going to add that later on today.
Oh, thank you. I mean, you said that you're working like a mad woman trying to pull it all together. So, I mean, it's a lot of work that you've done, and I can see that it's just great. Like I said, it's going to be a great resource and be good that people can keep adding to it. Yeah, no, it's really good.
Thanks for having me for chatting and all of that. That's been cool.
That's all right. Thanks so much, Elizabeth, for your time and giving us an insight about your online fabric shopping motivation and experiences. There are links to Elizabeth's helpful blog posts on our podcast episode page. I encourage you to share your online fabric retailers with Elizabeth by leaving your comments on her blog post so she can continue to grow this list. If you agree that Elizabeth's research is valuable, share it with your friends. This episode of So Organised Style was produced by me, Maria, with permission of Elizabeth. If you enjoyed this episode, go to our episode page to find more podcasts like this one. Send us any ideas you have for future podcasts. We're always interested to bring you valuable and reputable interviews and news that can help you with your creativity. Our resources page also lists reputable organisations that can help you when you need it. Thank you for listening, and I hope you'll join us again soon.